Before this story begins, I want to say something important. If you enjoy real-life mysteries, shocking family secrets, and stories that stay in your mind long after the video ends, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because the story you're about to hear is something I kept buried for years. Even now, telling it still feels unreal. What happened that night completely changed how I see people, how I see trust, and how quickly a family can fall apart. This isn't fiction. This is my story. My name is Clara. I'm 30 years old now, but the events I'm about to share happened when I was just 16. And it all started on a quiet winter night, when my stepfather walked into my room. To understand what happened, you need to know what my life was like back then. For most of my childhood, it was just me and my mom. My father passed away when I was very young. I don't remember everything about him, but I remember enough to miss him. I remember his voice, the way he laughed, and how he used to bring home small gifts after work. After he died, my mom changed. She tried to stay strong for me, but I could see the sadness behind her smile. For years she never dated anyone. She focused entirely on raising me. We lived in a small house that had old wooden floors that creaked whenever someone walked across them. It was quiet, peaceful, and safe. Then, when I was 15, everything shifted. My mom met someone. His name was Thomas. At first, he seemed like the kind of man people instantly trust. He was polite, well-dressed, and spoke in a calm, thoughtful way. He brought flowers when he visited. He laughed at my mom's jokes. And he always asked me how school was going. But something about him always felt distant. Not cruel. Not rude. Just distant. Like there was a part of him that never really arrived. Still, my mom looked happier than she had in years. And seeing that made me want to accept him. A year later, they got married. And Thomas moved into our house. At the time, I had no idea how much that decision would change our lives. Living with Thomas was unusual. He wasn't the typical stepfather you see in movies. He didn't try too hard to bond with me, but he wasn't cold either. He mostly kept to himself. He spent a lot of time in his study reading or working on his laptop. Sometimes I'd walk past the room and see the door slightly open. He'd be staring at old papers or photographs, looking deep in thought. Whenever he noticed me, he would quickly put them away. At the time, I didn't question it. Adults have their private lives. At least that's what I thought. But looking back now, there were small things that should have stood out. Sometimes he would disappear for long walks late at night. Sometimes he seemed nervous when my mom asked simple questions. And sometimes I'd catch him staring at old objects in the house, like he was searching for something. Still, months passed normally. Until one winter night. The night I woke up. It was late. Really late. The kind of silence that only happens after midnight. I had gone to sleep early because I had a test the next morning. I remember being completely exhausted. The house was still. No TV. No talking. Just quiet. Then something woke me up. At first I didn't know what it was. My eyes slowly opened, and I stared at the dark ceiling. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. Soft. Careful. Coming from the hallway. My heart started beating faster. My mom never walked around the house that late. And Thomas usually went to bed early. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I froze. For a moment there was nothing. Then, the door slowly creaked open. Just a few inches at first. Then wider. My body went completely still. I closed my eyes slightly, pretending to still be asleep. Through the faint light coming from the hallway, I saw him. Thomas. Standing in my doorway. Watching. I cannot fully explain what I felt in that moment. Confusion. Fear. Curiosity. All at once. Why was he in my room? Why wasn't he saying anything? Why was he just standing there? I forced myself not to move. Not to breathe too loudly. Not to react. He stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind him halfway. The wooden floor creaked beneath his weight. Every sound felt louder in the silence. He didn't come near my bed. Instead, he walked toward my desk. That's when I noticed something important. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at something on my desk. My jewelry box. It was small and wooden, with carved edges. My father had given it to me years ago. Inside were a few small things that meant a lot to me. A necklace, a bracelet, and a ring that belonged to my dad. I watched through barely open eyes as Thomas reached for it, picked it up, examined it, and then he slipped it into his pocket. My heart pounded so loudly I thought he might hear it. Then he walked back to the door, opened it quietly, and left, just like that, as if nothing had happened. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. My mind kept replaying the moment again and again. Did that really just happen? Did my stepfather just sneak into my room and take something that belonged to me? Why would he do that? If he wanted to look at it, why not ask? Why wait until the middle of the night? None of it made sense. Morning finally arrived, and I knew I had to ask him. At breakfast, everything looked normal. Too normal. My mom was making coffee. Thomas was reading the news on his phone. The sunlight filled the kitchen like any other day. I sat down slowly, trying to act calm. But inside, my heart was racing. Finally, I said it. Thomas, I think something from my room is missing. He looked up, calm, relaxed. What do you mean? He asked. My jewelry box, I said. I can't find it. For a brief moment, I watched his face carefully, looking for a reaction. Anything. Then he smiled slightly. Oh, he said casually. I took it. My mom looked confused. You did, she asked. He nodded. It looked old and dusty. I thought I'd clean it up for Clara. His voice was smooth, natural, almost convincing. But something about it felt wrong. Why would someone sneak into a room at midnight just to clean something? I didn't argue. Not yet. But inside, I knew there was more to the story. And I was going to find it. The rest of the day felt strange. Thomas acted like nothing unusual had happened. He even joked at dinner. But I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. The way he entered quietly. The way he checked if I was asleep. The way he slipped the jewelry box into his pocket. It didn't feel like someone borrowing something. It felt like someone hiding something. And that thought wouldn't leave my mind. That night, I made a decision. I was going to look inside his study. Thomas left the house that evening for one of his long walks. My mom was watching TV in the living room. My heart pounded as I walked quietly down the hallway toward his study. The door was closed. I hesitated, then slowly turned the handle. The room smelled like old books and paper. Everything was neat, organized, too organized. I started looking around. Shelves, desk, cabinets. Then I saw it. A locked drawer. Something about it immediately caught my attention. People only lock things they don't want others to see. I searched the desk carefully. After a few minutes, I found a small key taped underneath. My hands trembled slightly as I unlocked the drawer. Inside was my jewelry box. But that wasn't the shocking part. Underneath it was a stack of photographs and a letter. I picked up the photos first. They were old, faded at the edges, and every single one of them showed Thomas. But he looked younger, happier, standing beside a woman I had never seen before. They were smiling, holding hands, traveling together, looking deeply in love. My stomach dropped, because that woman wasn't my mother. Then I unfolded the letter. The handwriting looked emotional, rushed personal. It was a love letter, addressed to Thomas, from her. And the words made one thing clear. They had once planned a life together. My hands were shaking as I put everything back exactly how I found it. My mind was racing. Why would he hide this? Why take my jewelry box? Why keep these memories locked away? And the biggest question of all, did my mother know? That night I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I waited for Thomas to come home. And I confronted him. This time with the photos in my hand. He froze the moment he saw them. For the first time since I had known him, Thomas looked nervous. Where did you get those? He asked quietly. Your drawer, I said. Who is she? There was a long silence. Then he sighed and sat down. She was someone I loved, he said. Before your mother. I waited for more. But things ended, he continued. Life moved on. His answer sounded incomplete, like a story missing pages. Then why keep the photos? I asked. Why hide them? He didn't respond immediately. And that silence said more than words. I told my mom everything. At first she didn't believe me. Then she saw the photos. And everything changed. The argument that followed was one of the worst nights of my life. Voices raised. Doors slammed. Years of trust collapsing in a single evening. And eventually, the truth came out. Thomas had never fully let go of that woman. Even before marrying my mom, he had still been in contact with her. After that night, things were never the same. The house felt different. Colder. Quieter. My mom tried to stay strong, but I could see the heartbreak in her eyes. Within months, she filed for divorce. Thomas moved out. And just like that, he was gone from our lives. But the memory of that night never left me. Because sometimes the biggest secrets don't reveal themselves in loud dramatic moments. Sometimes they begin with something small. A quiet hallway. A creaking door. And a man standing in the darkness of your room. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't understand when I was 16. Secrets don't stay hidden forever. No matter how carefully someone tries to bury the past, it always finds a way back to the surface. Sometimes through accidents. Sometimes through curiosity. And sometimes through a sleepless night that changes everything. If you made it this far in the story, thank you for listening. And remember, trust is fragile. Once broken, it never returns the same way again.